Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Daily Manchester United podcast. Today we have our first Wildcard Wednesday episode of the new season. My name is Cormac and today I'm joined by Tom. Tom, how are we doing?
Not too bad, thank you, Cormac. Hello to everyone. After the disappointment of last season, can Manchester United rebound from it with a European-less season ahead of us? But will it be one to help get the club back in the right direction?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also joined by Dan. Dan, how are we doing?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Just to add on to what Tom said, it was a very disappointing season last year, but hopefully it could be a bit better this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're all forgetting about last season and we're hoping, praying we can, new signs in, can have a much better season at Old Trafford this upcoming year. So today's topic, we're going to discuss players we thought that would have been shining lights, had good careers at United that ultimately didn't pan out. Tom, I'll go to you first. Who's a player you can think of?
Just remind me of the question again, please, Cormac, just so I can give myself a little think.
So a player you thought they might have had a good start, thought was going to be great, and then ultimately kind of just flopped at United. It didn't work out for them.
Out of all the players, I have to say Sancho is up there, isn't he? You know, Jadon Sancho, I think from the moment he arrived, I thought, yeah, we were all excited about it because it was confirmed during the Euros back in 2021 when Sancho had been signed on or was about to sign for Manchester United, which he ultimately did. And I was really excited to see, Sancho thrive, considering that, he's an English player, he's played in Bundesliga, he's proven himself for Borussia Dortmund. I thought, great. But he just, no matter which system he's been able to fit to, whether it be under Solskjaer's system or under Rangnick's system, Ten Hag or Amrin. I mean, to be fair, he hasn't been given a chance within Amrin's system yet. He's been a liability as Sancho, and he's allowed his ego and his attitude to really take its toll on him. And I don't really see a way back from him at United, even though Chelsea have allowed him to go back to United now. I just don't know where Sancho fits in.
Yeah, Dan, what's your thoughts on Sancho?
Coming in, I was one of his biggest fans. I'm pretty sure all of us were at the time we were all thinking he just done 20 goals, 20 assists coming off that great season. I think only him and Messi had done that in that year. So we were all thinking we're gonna get. And it was a position of need as well. We did need a right winger. We had Rashford on the left. We had Martial up front, and it did look like something positive with Bruno just behind them. We thought we found this perfect right winger, and then with him and Cristiano coming in at the same time with Varane, we were thinking, this. I might be a bit too optimistic, but I was thinking, Varane, Ronaldo, Sancho, Pogba. I was thinking this is a title winning season. I thought, this team's gonna win us a title, and it just never really started off. I feel like he was hard done by critics very early on into his Man United tenure. I don't think anyone really got the harsh critics that he did, especially with the whole 007 stuff. I think he was a bit singled out more so than if someone else like another Chelsea or or Man City were to make that type of signing as well. But yeah, just like Tom said, his attitude going forward, everything, it's just been so poor. And it's disappointing to see things end the way it has. He went on loan to Chelsea, he's gone on loan to Dortmund. He had a good loan when he went back out to Dortmund, but it's just that we've never really seen it in a Man United shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you both. I was so excited for Sancho to come in, him being, a City player as well. I was very excited for him to work out for us, just, to get one up on City even. But yeah, what he showed at Dortmund, I mean, coming in, you thought he was going to be class, and yeah, it just didn't really pan out. I mean, to be fair, the first season he had some glimpses. He scored that goal against Liverpool, had a couple in the Champions League. But I mean, yeah, I think as you touched on, the attitude was just awful. And he was kind of the first one, I think, that started to get singled out. And then you had Rashford and Garnacho follow after him. But yeah, we paid a lot of big money for Sancho, and ultimately, he didn't pan out at all. And now we have Chelsea paying us $5 million to keep him. So it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. But yeah, it is sad that unfortunately it did not work out for Sancho at Old Trafford. Dan, I'll go back to who's a player you can think of that you thought was going to be great, but just didn't work out.
I wouldn't say it didn't work out because I feel like he did still have positive seasons when he was here. But like Paul Pogba, when how he was touted when he was coming in, obviously he was the most expensive signing in Premier League history. And to me, he was my favourite Premier League midfielder. I thought he was the best midfielder in the Premier League when he first got here. And the way it kind of ended, after the first couple seasons, I think the first 2 seasons were his best seasons at United, and after that it kind of fizzled out. I don't think it was just directly on him. I feel like the club didn't do enough to support him in terms of, putting him in the position to be the best player he could possibly be. I feel like there was times where he was being put in positions like having to play the six. He's not a six. That's not where his best abilities lie. He's a forward thinking player. He's a good ball carrier and stuff like that. He can play the six because he is, he's a big frame. He's 6'3" and he can do that. But it's just I feel like he was very much misprofiled at Man United, as well as he had his own attitude problems that I wasn't too fond of. There was times where he would have injuries, but we will see him going out to parties and stuff like that. So it was a mixture of both United and him. I just feel like Man United weren't able to get the most out of, in my personal opinion, one of the best midfielders in the world at the time.
I agree. Tom, your opinion on Pogba's time at United?
I like the fact that he came back, but we paid too much money for him. That was the issue. And if you remember, 4 years before we signed him back, we let him go to Juventus on a free. So I think with Pogba, I do feel there were some attributes which he was able to unleash, but we didn't see enough of Pogba compared to what his price tag had suggested. And that was where it really unsettled him for a period of time before he eventually left. He has recently got his career back on track. Got his career back on track a little bit by going to Monaco, because he had that ban, didn't he? But he's got his career back in the right direction. I just wish that he can actually revitalize his career a little bit now.
Yeah, I know Pogba is an issue because, as you said, Dan, he didn't really have, he was good. I thought at United, and watching him, I thought we hadn't had a player like that in a while, since probably the Ferg era. He could do it all on his day. He'd be up there with De Bruyne almost, and he did put in some good shifts. But I think, talking about the price tag, Tom, as well. I think ultimately we expected a lot more of him. And he was just too inconsistent. But I definitely, think there's worse players that didn't show up for United. And yeah, it's just a shame. Pogba, he was one of our own coming up through the academy, and he only got a couple of titles when he came back. And on his day, we seen with France how good he was. Winning a World Cup, dominating with them. And yeah, it's just a shame, really. He couldn't steer us to more titles at United. But no, I thought he was definitely a fun player to watch. I'm going to throw it back a bit with this next player I had in mind, and that's going to be Adnan Januzaj. When he first came through, he scored 2 goals on his first Prem start against Sunderland, and that side volley hit, I'll never forget it, at the Stadium of Light. And yeah, there was all this, hype about him. He was given the number 11 jersey right after Giggs left. But ultimately, I think his stats ended with United. He had 50 appearances, 5 goals, which isn't a great return at all. And just based off the start he had, how young he was, and how he went into that Moyes team right away and was like almost one of our best players, I really expected him to go on and have a good career at United. But it just didn't really work out at all for him in the end. Dan, what were your thoughts about Januzaj?
Yeah, I think I was a lot younger when Januzaj first came through. I was around probably like 15, 16, and it was a thing where, like, for me, it was that first wonder kid that I saw at Man United. So I felt like I resonated with him because, as a young child, you're going through that football stuff, and you're thinking, okay, cool, like this could be me in a few years. So he kind of resonated with me. I wanted him to, go on to do big things. I wanted him to be a Man United great. And when it didn't, ultimately work out, I was quite sad. But I think he had so much quality when he first came through. I was thinking, yeah, like this could be our 10 for the next however many seasons. But for it to not work out, it was quite saddening.
Absolutely. Tom, your thoughts?
I'm just looking through his career, actually, because he's had quite a rocky career with all the loan spells he's had. He's had loan spells at Dortmund, Sunderland, and then he went to Real Sociedad on a permanent basis. Then he left to join Sevilla. He is still there, but he has been out on loan at Istanbul, Başakşehir, and Las Palmas, where he was at last season. So he still has a career of some degree, but with all this hype, it proved to be too much for Adnan, which is a big shame because I did like him. I thought he was going to be not world class, but at least be a solid squad player week in, week out. But I think it's just the fact that when Louis van Gaal had arrived, I think Januzaj was going to be somewhat surplus to requirements, considering that we were signing players like Angel Di Maria. I think Angel Di Maria ended up playing in that position where Adnan Januzaj would have been playing at.
Yeah, no, it is a shame. I think, yeah, as you said, the managerial change didn't help him at all, and he was kind of ousted. And yeah, I mean, he played a few times for Belgium as well, but I don't think, from the way his career started out, I don't think the career panned out the way he thought it did, or a lot of us thought it did in the end. But yeah, another one that got away from us, I think, and didn't live up to his hype at all. We'll go for a quick break now, and when we're back, we'll continue on with our list.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body is unique.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
So I'll go back to you, Tom. Who's another player that comes to mind that didn't really live up to expectations?
Well, I mentioned him already. I have to say Angel Di Maria. I think with the huge price tag that he had, not as big as what we paid for Jadon Sancho or Paul Pogba, but a big player, hot on the back of his great performances from Real Madrid during his time there, and also with Argentina in the World Cup. People thought he was going to be a big player to help Man United elevate themselves, go back to the top. He had some really good games, actually. I even remember the chip he made at Leicester, and people thought, yeah, this guy is going to be huge for United. And he did score a few more goals and a brilliant number of assists, but it fell out of love with playing for United very quickly. It fell out of love playing for Louis van Gaal as well. And the fact that we let him go to PSG for a reduced fee compared to what we paid for him, it was just a shame, but I don't have any regrets of United selling him because he's another one of those that's allowed his attitude to really kick in, and he just very quickly lost interest in playing for the club.
Yeah, Dan, what you make of Di Maria?
Yeah, I agree. I've always been a Di Maria here ever since he's after the 14-15 season. I've always been one of his biggest haters. So, in terms of how he was when he was here, I think his season that he had at United was very underrated. I feel like people, just on the basis of how he left and he didn't want to be here no more, people actually forget how good he was actually in that season. I think he had about 11 assists in 20 Premier League games or something around something silly like that. So he was a very quality player, and he showed his quality as well. But yeah, just the way he went about leaving and not wanting to be at United, I wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you both. I mean, when he came in, coming from Madrid, was a star there, and really anywhere besides United he's played, he's been a star. Just like other players didn't work out, but yeah, as you said, Tom, that chip against Leicester, I'll never forget that, and he actually had a decent start. But ultimately, I just don't think that system Van Gaal had, very slow, possessive style, didn't suit him at all. And then you had the issues with the attitude, and yeah, he just wanted to get out. And you even seen when they played us in the Champions League, that first leg at Old Trafford a few years back, where they scored and he was celebrating in front of all us United fans, and yeah, you could just tell he just wasn't a fan of the club at all. So yeah, definitely one who did not live up to the price tag at all, and didn't have a good career at Old Trafford. Dan, I'll go back to you for another player.
I would say Angel Gomes, as like someone who used to watch like all the academy players growing up. It was a thing where I think there was a point in time where he was our captain, and he was just the most technically gifted like academy footballer that we had. obviously with his height and stuff, it just didn't work out for him in the Premier League. You know, being 5'3", but 5'4", around that age, it just wasn't going to work out for him in the Premier League. But then seeing him go on to the French league, and he did well in his first season at Lyon, at not Lyon, what was it?
Lille.
Lille. He did well at Lille. He did well in under 21s Euros with Parma and the rest of them winning that. So like we could see that he is a quality player. Maybe it was just a thing where he wasn't a Premier League player. The physicality of the league wasn't, is a bit too high for him. But he is a quality player, and I thought like it would have been nice to see him perform in a Man United shirt. As someone I was watching growing up, it would have been nice to see him perform in a United shirt.
Yeah, Tom, your thoughts?
I don't really have too much to say on Angel Gomes because we never gave him the chance to see whether he would get that time in the United team. But when he was there, it was Jose Mourinho who was he was the manager, wasn't he? Angel Gomes was going to find it difficult to get into that Man United team. But yeah, we'll never know how he would have got on. I mean, would United go out and splash some cash on him just to bring him in as an option? I don't know. They're probably not. But yeah, I wouldn't personally put Adrian Gomes as one which I had high hopes for and it not to play out. I think there's other ones out there which I would definitely put before him. But yeah, it would have been nice to see if it played out for me United, but sadly not to be.
Yeah, no, I actually love that shout, Dan. He was kind of one I forgot about, but I mean, yeah, just the hype he had. How techy he was then and even is now. Yeah, it was really a shame he just didn't get a chance, and seeing how well he done at Lille, and then even getting a few games for England's first team. It kind of hurts seeing like a player we let go for nothing again. Rising through the ranks, and I believe he's just got to move to Marseille, I think. So we'll see how he does there. But yeah, he's one, so technically gifted that I would have definitely loved to have seen got more game time at United and seen how he would have panned out. Another one missed. I'm going to go for a player who actually had a very good Premier League career but didn't work out at United, and that's Wilfried Zaha. He was actually Fergie's last signing, but he only played 2 Prem matches for United. I believe Fergie signed him in that January window before he retired, and they loaned him back out to Palace, and then he kind of had a falling out with David Moyes, and just didn't really, pan out for United at all. But he had 275 appearances in the Prem and 67 goals for Palace, so that's a good return for kind of a mid-table club. But he's one, the pace, power, trickery I would have liked to have seen play a bit more at United. Maybe it was too early in his career to make that, big of a step. But yeah, no, it did pan out from in the end of the Premier League. Great serving for Palace, and then went off to the French League and done all right there. But yeah, one I would have definitely have loved to have seen on the wing for United a lot more. Tom, thoughts on Zaha?
He also had a loan spell at Cardiff, Wilfried Zaha, when Cardiff were in the Prem. Yeah, I was excited for Wilfried Zaha when we signed him. I looked at his performances when he was at Palace during his first spell there, and that goal in particular, scored in the playoff semi-final against Brighton, was like, wow, United have actually got a decent player coming in. It's just a shame that he wouldn't fit into Moyes' system compared to what it would have been if Ferguson stayed. But he rightly went back to Palace, where he was successful at. Stayed there for as long as he felt, the time was right for him to go. And he's been out at Galatasaray, which famously he scored against United in the Champions League about 18 months back when Galatasaray won 3-2. So you have to say it hasn't been too bad of a career for Wilfried Zaha, but it would have been disastrous for him if he just remained at United in a similar fashion to how it's maybe been for someone like Victor Lindelof, because Lindelof hasn't exactly thrived at United either, which, one of us may decide to go and, discuss about him in a moment. But for Wilfried Zaha, I think for his career as a whole, he did the right thing to leave United from the moment he knew he wasn't going to be within the squad, effectively.
Yeah, Dan, agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying in that regard. I'm a fan of Zaha. I think he's a good player. Like you said, I think maybe it was a move that he had made a bit too early in his career. Maybe he could have done a couple more years at Palace. I think they had just got promoted, so maybe he did go back out there on loan, obviously. But maybe the move to United wasn't, because it is a heavy shirt to wear at the end of the day. It's not easy being a United player. Especially in England, the scrutiny is always on you. The cameras are always on you. Anything you do is going to be overzealous in the media as well. So it is a very hard shirt to put on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We've seen it with numerous players just don't work out at United. We'll go for one more player from each of us before we end the episode. I'll go back to you, Tom. Who's the last player you can think of?
We've got a choice, haven't we? We're spelt for choice on this one. Oh, it's hard. I think I'm going to go for Donny van der Beek. Donny van der Beek is I think when we signed him for Ajax, I was looking forward to see how he would get on. I thought he might actually settle into how Solskjaer sets his team out to play. But he just never got enough time. And I think whenever he did play, he just wasn't particularly great, and he wasn't consistent either with either he's off the ball or when he was on the ball, it wasn't being, basically consistent when he comes to his passing or when he was like holding the ball up. But it's just, as a whole, Van der Beek just wasn't exactly Manchester United material.
Yeah, no, the Van der Beek's a great shout. Dan, thoughts on him?
Yeah, I was a fan of him. Obviously, at the time, they had that little class coming through of the Ziyech, De Ligt, Frankie, Van der Beek. So, and all of them were all going off to big clubs. Or De Ligt went to Juventus. What's it called? Ziyech had gone to Chelsea. Frankie had gone to Barcelona, and he had come to United the season after. So it was like, okay, cool. So let's see. We've seen how these other ones are working out at their club. Let's see how this kind of works out. For it to not really work out, I was always a fan saying that maybe he's not playing in his best position, or I think he might be A. And him, the dynamic of him and Bruno, I wasn't too sure how it was going to work out. Like, I think they both played the same position of where they're best at. So it was like our best player, he was kind of having to compete with our best player, so he wasn't really going to get the minutes that he probably wanted.
Yeah, no, I really feel for Van der Beek because, yeah, you touched on it, the minutes. He just didn't ever seem to get game time. I can't remember him ever getting more than 2-3 games in a row, over his course of career at United. And he actually started well, scoring his debut against Palace, the COVID year, first game. But yeah, no, the hype he had, was part of that Ajax team that should have made the final. Spurs unfortunately bet them. But yeah, the talent that was on show there. I believe he scored a goal against Madrid as well when they knocked them out. And yeah, you just expected, a lot from him, and it just didn't work out. And there was a time I think he was starting to get a bit run of games, but he had that devastating knee injury. I forget who it was against, but that just really just ended it for him. And yeah, we had to cash in, sell him to Girona for a lot less than what we paid for him. But yeah, he's really one that I feel got hard done by, just didn't get the playing time and some injuries. Just stopped him from progressing. Dan, last player you think of?
Between two, I'll go with Anthony. I think it's a more recent one. There was a thing where, again, I'm a big FIFA player, and from the years, if you look at Anthony on FIFA, he's always been a pretty decent player. And if you watch Anthony's highlights, you're thinking, yeah, this player's class. I remember at the time when the signing had gone through, and I was thinking, yeah, we've got our Brazilian winger. He's gonna be tricky. He's gonna like get the crowd off their feet. And when he first came in, I think it was 3 goals in his first 3 games, and I was thinking, he's not showing me much, but the goals are coming through, so I'll take the goals. So then maybe the performances will come later, but it just never really kicked on, and like, yeah, like the performances just wasn't there, and then he kind of started to become a social media meme, and it is, again, like I say, it's very hard to wear the Man U shirt because you're gonna be under so much pressure, especially under social media, whether it's the mainstream media, you're always gonna be under pressure.
Yeah, no, I mean, a very controversial topic is Anthony. Tom, what you make of him?
Well, he's had that brilliant low spell at Real Betis, hasn't he? Getting them to that Conference League final, which, it'd been nice for him to actually win that, so that it would have increased his price tag for someone to sign him. But now it's, I think in terms of his overall career at United, it just hasn't worked out, has it? And he's the reason why Erik ten Hag got the sack, because I said it before on a previous podcast when I was speaking to Niall after the Europa League final defeat, that playing Anthony all the time was what got Erik ten Hag the sack, because they knew that Anthony wasn't going to be consistent. He's so bad on his right foot, and he always switched on to his left foot whenever he cut back inside, and it was so annoying to see it. But now he's just got to hope that his career can get back on track, and I don't really see it at United. The problem is, United are waiting out to get the players they need coming in first before they offload those that they don't want.
Yeah, no, I think it is going to be definitely tricky moving Anthony on. As you said, he was phenomenal at Betis. So, maybe they'd come back in from who knows. But yeah, Anthony, I mean, as you said, Dan, that start, 3 goals in 3 games, I believe he was the only United player to ever do that.
Yeah.
Phenomenal start, and then he just fell off a cliff. And yeah, as you said, Tom, he just was so annoying to watch. He was so predictable. You knew on the wing he was going to cut left. There was no way he was going right, and I think defenders figured that out quick. And it was just, we paid what, 80 million odd pounds from 85, and the return just, it was off, and he pretty much became a meme. I'm glad he done well at Betis there, kind of proving some doubters wrong. But yeah, I agree. I don't think there's really a future for him at United, and hopefully we won't be getting near the 80 million for him, but if we can get half that, I'll definitely be happy. So my last player, I'm torn between two. I'll mention this guy quickly, Ravel Morrison. Actually, I'll go with him, Ravel Morrison, because Ferdinand said he was the best player he had ever seen at his age. And, he made his debut for us at 17. Even Fergie, I think Fergie said he was the only player that he gave a debut to that wrote him a hand letter after. And he said he had a great heart. And with all those, attributes, and all the praise he was getting, probably, one of the techiest players we've had come through the academy in a while. He never really got a chance at United. Obviously he had off the field issues, and then I believe we just sent him on to West Ham. But, his whole career, really, I think that was the last bit of Prem action he's seen. And then it's just like, I know he was at Derby County for a while, Championship. But yeah, just from all that hype he had as being one of Carrington's best products, and how long, it just didn't work out for him at all, and his career has just been a real shame. One who did not live up to his potential at all. I'll go to you first, Dan, here on Ravel Morrison.
Ravel Morrison, for me, obviously, I was a lot younger, but I call these type of people like the idea footballer. The idea of Ravel Morrison was much better than the footballer Ravel Morrison. Like, whenever you would watch them on a football pitch, it's not putting up how people talk about them. Like, people were saying this guy's the best thing since sliced bread, but when you watch him play, he just looks like an average Joe. So it's like, I can't really speak too much on him because I didn't get to watch much of him when I was younger, but it was a thing where I think I like the idea of Ravel Morrison more than I like the football player Ravel Morrison.
Yeah, no, I guess what you're saying there, Tom.
It's interesting you mentioned, Cormac, that Ferguson saying that he was like, what was it, a hand letter or something?
Yeah, he wrote after his debut, he wrote him a hand letter and left it in his office for him, and Ferguson said that was the first time a player had ever done that, thanking him for Fergie giving him the debut.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because when he was over at West Ham, when Selim Allardyce was the manager, he was difficult to contain. And I think he mentioned as well, Sam Allardyce, about his ADHD, which I think contributed to the way he was behaving. So it's not completely all Ravel Morrison's fault by any means, but it certainly didn't help his mentality to focus on his football career. Because obviously when you're playing for a club like West Ham, you get a lot of people around you. You are scrutinized so much by so many different people. People see you on the streets, people note you on social media and all that. And I think he allowed his public affairs the right thing to say. I think he allowed what he was going on off the pitch to really override his career, and that's what let Ravel Morrison down. Do we know what he's doing nowadays, Ravel Morrison?
I'm not too sure. Can I have a quick look and see where he's at?
I'm looking on his profile now. He's playing for a club called Precision in Dubai.
Yeah, Dubai's second division. I see that. Yeah, big fall for grace. He also did have 20 games played for Jamaica, which isn't too bad. But yeah, no, definitely a player that did not live up to the hype at all. Well, lads, thanks for joining me, Dan and Tom. We had a good chat there about, we could have spent an hour on this episode. There's so many United players that didn't live up to the hype. But thanks for joining me. And before we go, just a quick shout out to another of our sponsors, Zencastr. Here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spend a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. And thanks for me as well, Cormac. We'll catch you very soon for another episode of Daily Manchester United podcast. Be well.